This conference will now be recorded.
We talked about trial balance yesterday. Let me write down the same thing. Trial balance. From the trial balance, we have listed something called asset, liabilities. I would say assets, liabilities, incomes, and expenses. And we assumed that some number we have listed when we have written some numbers from the asset. First, before we break down the asset, before we break down the liability, income, and expenses, you need to understand what all will be covered under asset, what all will be covered under liabilities, similarly, income and expense. Yesterday, in broad, we have written certain things like in your assets, we have written cash balances, bank balances, customer balances, inventory or stock balances, fixed asset related balances, other current assets. And on the liabilities, we have listed capital, retained earnings, loans and advances, vendor related balances, other current liabilities. On the other side, for income, you have listed operating income, non-operating income, and other income. For expenses, operating expenses, non-operating expenses, and other expenses. This is how you will have the broad classification of your trial balance. But when you practically look at any trial balance from your client side, especially when you're in any project, you need to split the trial balance according to the business process. All this information will be given to us by the client. We are not the one who is going to prepare the trial balance. You are the one who is going to validate the trial balance. Your client will provide you the trial balance. Whatever the trial balance that you receive from your client, make sure you are able to understand the trial balance. And if you have any questions, if you have any confusions on the trial balance, you must be in a position to put a question to your client, get it clarified, because we have to upload the trial balance in SAP and download the trial balance from SAP, provide the trial balance to client, get it confirmed. You need to receive the trial balance from the client, validate the trial balance, understand the trial balance, upload the trial balance into SAP, and then download the trial balance from SAP, share the trial balance to client, get the trial balance approved or confirmed or signed off by the client. Without your TB confirmation, you are not going to go live for your project. Right? Your project from the finance point of view or from FICO point of view is complete only when you upload trial balance. Whenever you talk about data migration or legacy balances, we are directly talking about a trial balance or TB. Now, when you receive the trial balance, what exactly is going to happen? From the trial balance, if you talk about asset, from the asset, you need to split different transactions. Let's say, let me write certain transactions here. From asset, first I will take reconciliation accounts. From the asset, what are all the reconciliation accounts that we have? We need to make a list of it, and then open item based accounts, non-open item based accounts, next one your inventory. Okay, when you talk about reconciliation account, you have two type of reconciliation account in asset. First one is your customer, second one is your fixed assets. Fixed assets. So when you talk about customer, customer is a reconciliation account because customer is part of your accounts receivable. Accounts receivable is a subledger. Subledger is nothing but reconciliation account in SAP. Similarly, fixed asset. Fixed asset is also a subledger accounting. This subledger accounting is called as reconciliation account in SAP. For the customer, you need to have the detailed breakup of customer. In short, all the outstanding transactions or all the open transactions of customer as on your cutoff date or as on your cutover date. We assumed that our cutover date was, our go live date is 28th July 2023. According to this July 28, 2023, you will be receiving the trial balance of June 2023, which means 30th June 2023. You need to get the breakup of all the customer open transactions as on 30th June 2023. Whatever the invoices that were outstanding as on 30th June 2023, whatever the credit memos that were outstanding as on 30th June 2023, whatever the advances that are outstanding, if you have any other transaction which is open in the customer account as on 30th June 2023, the complete list you have to take. When I say the complete list, I need to take, first of all, how this customer account will reflect or is represented on your financials, in short, your trial balance. For example, your customer accounts are always represented by accounts receivable. Let me put customer separately here. Customer balances. In the customer balances, let me put a different one. So your customer balances are part of balance sheet. Inside the balance sheet, these are part of accounts receivable. This is how your customer balances will be represented in your financials. When you're talking about the trial balance, when you're talking about your legacy balances, we are receiving the trial balance. Based on the trial balance, you are going to generate financial statements called profit and loss statement plus balance sheet. So let me put TB here. Trial balance. Based on the trial balance, you are going to generate profit and loss statement and balance sheet. These 3 points you are going to generate. From this, what we need to do is we are going to get the trial balance. From the trial balance, you need to understand the account balances, because in your trial balance, whatever you see is called as account closing balance. In every customer, whatever is the closing balance as on your trial balance month. If it is related to June 2023, you are going to get the closing balances as on 30th June 2023. Now, in your current assets, under current assets, you are going to represent accounts receivable. In accounts receivable, you are going to represent your accounts receivable as, let's say, I'll say accounts receivable domestic. I will say account receivable exports. Similarly, I will say accounts receivable one time, accounts receivable employees. I would say accounts receivable intercompany. I would say accounts receivable intra-company. You may have different accounts receivable GL accounts from your trial balance. Now everything is related to a customer. Okay, everything is related to a customer. This is how your customer balances are represented on your balance sheet. Now when you receive the trial balance, for accounts receivable domestic, there is a GL account called accounts receivable reconciliation account. Because we are classifying this as reconciliation account, you are going to have reconciliation GL account for this. For this, everything there will be a separate reconciliation GL account. Each reconciliation GL account will have some balance. let's say I am going to take this as 1 star 1. I'll take 1 star 2. I'll take 1 star 3, 4. Please be on mute.
So may I ask a quick question for clarification, please?
Yes.
I noticed that for the well, it's colored for my screen. I can't see the end of it, but where you have the customer fixed asset, is it different like for the reconciliation accounts when you pick customer and vendor in FS00? I know so you
Yes,
have
correct.
customer there, but not vendor.
You're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just writing this 1 star 1 only to represent this is a GL account number. I'm not writing the complete number. This is a 1 series. Last digit I'm taking as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 series I'm representing as asset. Last digit the GL account number. Account number 1, account number 2, 3, 4 until 6. Now every GL account you are going to have some balance. When I say my total accounts receivable balance, I would say 1000. Out of 1000 total accounts receivable, I am going to mention my accounts receivable domestic is 200, my accounts receivable export is 300, one time is 50, and this is 100, this is 150. How much it is now? 800. I will say this 200. Now sum of all this is equivalent to 1000. Now whatever the accounts receivable that you are representing as total accounts receivable, for this you are going to have the breakup of each category of your receivable. How much is outstanding from the domestic customer, how much is outstanding from export customer, one time customer, employee customer, intercompany customer, and intra-company customer. Let's say the total is 1000. For this 1000 you will have the GL account wise breakup. When I say GL account wise breakup, for each reconciliation account you will get the balance like this. Now this balance is what is going to reflect on your trial balance. From the trial balance you will find all these GL accounts, each GL account representing this. Now this representation is from the balance sheet. On your trial balance you are going to get like this. If I put trial balance, on the trial balance you will get only this information. Only this information is available on your trial balance. Let's say this is what you got on the trial balance. What you are going to do, you are going to look at how many reconciliation GL accounts you have per customer. By looking at this, you understood there are 6 GL accounts. This is the total of each GL account. Now, when you look at the customer or when you look at the accounts receivable GL account, first thing that should strike your mind is this is all related to customer, because these are all subledger accounts. In short, the reconciliation account, AR domestic will have, let's say, so many customers. You must have created customer master data on the system. Based on the customer master data, we need to make sure this accounts receivable domestic, this 200 outstanding is part of how many customers. Let's say this is part of 120 customers, and this is part of, let's say, 40 customers. This is part of, let's say, only one customer. Employees, I would say 400 customers. Intercompany, I would say 4 customers. Intra-company, I'll say some 10 customers. Now overall you have got a number of the total customers: 40 plus 120, 160, 161, 165, 175, and 400, 575. In short, you have got 575 customers. Total you have got 575 customers. Now the amount, this total 1000 is coming from 575 customers. When you are uploading the legacy balances or when you are migrating this accounts receivable balances, first thing that you need to look at is you need to look at the total number of customers that you have got and the total outstanding that you have got on your trial balance. Your customer will provide you the detailed breakup of each GL account based on customer account. Based on customer account, your customer will provide each GL account wise balances. If you have this domestic, outstanding is 200, number of customers are 120. Your customer will provide customer number 1, outstanding amount is this much. Similarly, customer number 2, for customer number 2, there are 2 invoices, 1 advance payment, 1 credit memo, whatever is the open transaction as on that particular key date. Your client will provide you all this information on the Excel sheet. This is called your TB breakup. This breakup you need to look at, you need to identify. You are going to get another Excel sheet which contains the breakup of 120 customers and for each customer what is the outstanding amount and what are the outstanding transactions, whether it has got 1 transaction, 2 transactions or 10 transactions or 100 transactions. You need to look at all these transactions. When you look at all the transactions, make sure the sum of the 120 customers is again matching with 200. Sometimes what will happen, from the trial balance you will get a 200 breakup, but when you look at the 120 customer outstanding, it may not be equivalent to 200. It may be something more or it may be sometimes less amount. If this is the situation, you need to make sure you are able to understand and you are able to identify the differences, from where these differences are coming and how you are going to figure out these differences. Clear?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Sir, I have a doubt in AR, domestic AR, export AR one time customer. It is a sub ledger or a main ledger, sir. Under account
Subledger.
receivable, sub ledger. Okay, thank you, sir.
Subledger.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we need to make sure at each customer level you are able to match the balances and the total trial balance is agreeing with the customer wise balances. The reconciliation GL account values are agreeing or tallying with the customer wise breakup. Once you get this breakup, you may be ending up, if you look at the trial balance, you have got only 6 GL accounts, correct? From the TB, you got 6 GL accounts, but when you look at the customer, you have got 575 customers, which means it is straight away an indication that you are going to pass 575 journal entries to bring customer accounts into the SAP system. If you look at the trial balance, you may be looking at straight away there is 1000 outstanding, there are 6 GL accounts in it. But if you are looking from this point of view, if you are coming to a conclusion that yes, there are 6 GL accounts, each GL account contains some value, I will pass 6 entries to bring the values into SAP, then our understanding is wrong. Because this is a reconciliation account, in short, this is sub-ledger accounting. You need to go into the sub-ledger. In sub-ledger, you are going to have the detailed customer account. Look at each customer account. Against each customer, whatever is the outstanding balance, at each customer level, for every outstanding, you need to post a separate entry. If you have 575 customers, assuming each customer is having only one single entry, you will straight away record 575 accounting entries to load customer balances into SAP. What if each customer is having, let's say, 10 entries? If each customer is having 10 entries as outstanding, you are going to multiply 575 with 10. 10 multiplied by 575, you may be ending up posting 5750 entries. Okay, so based on the nature of business, based on the number of transactions, you will have to decide how you are going to load this balance into SAP. Because you can upload all the amounts in single entry also, But tomorrow, when you're handing over system to your client, you need to make sure your client is able to handle the customer account in a proper way without having any confusions, without facing any issues or challenges. Now, this is probably, if I load everything in one single transaction, I may be having 5 entries. If I take, where did this go? For example, I will take one particular customer. I will take a customer, Mr. ABC. I will take one customer, Mr. ABC. In this customer, let's say in my legacy system, let this be any system. In your legacy system, you are having certain entries. Let's say invoice number 1, I have invoice number 2, I have invoice number 3, I have credit memo 1, credit memo 2, and I have advance 1 and then advance 2. Okay, assuming that this is what is the breakup that I have for one of my customers in the legacy system. For every invoice, you are going to have the value. Let's say this is 10, this is 5, this is 4, this is 8, this is 2, this is 10, this is 5. Now overall, if I do a total, this is what I am getting. So to put it in the accounting format, invoice from the customer is a receivable, which will be a positive number. Invoice is again a receivable, positive number. Invoice is a positive number. Credit memo is a written, which means this will be a negative number. Similarly, credit memo is a negative number. Any advance from the customer is also a negative number. This will also be a negative number. If you look at the customer account, overall your customer account is showing a credit balance of 5. Your overall customer account is showing a credit balance of 5. When you migrate the balances for this particular customer, if I am your client, what I will do, I am going to provide this breakup while uploading the data into SAP, because I am going to download this data from my existing system. I am able to extract just like that from my existing system. These are the 7 or 8 transactions. This is the closing balance of this particular customer. Now, when I want to open this customer account in SAP, I would like to see the same representation in my customer account, for which you have to upload the balances in such a way that I am able to get the detailed breakup on my SAP also. Point number 1, in your SAP system, you can upload in the similar way. I'll say SAP system. In SAP system, you can upload in the exact similar way. This is point number 1. This is point number 1 from SAP system. Point number 2, instead of updating as it is, I can upload everything in one line item. I will say
Sir, I have a question.
yes.
Sir, when we're taking the balance, right, total balance, are we going to take complete transaction for the year, or we're going to take the last month balance, sorry, last month transactions?
That I will list out after this.
No,
Okay.
no. Regarding this, right, you mentioned, right, invoice one to some transaction, right? Are these just generally you mentioned only seven. Generally, I'm asking when we're taking to, when we're migrating, are we going to take complete transaction for that
Complete
particular customer?
as on that particular key date, 30th June 2023. Whatever is
Okay,
outstanding in that customer, which is represented as receivable. Whatever is
okay,
settled will not be migrated. Whatever is to
okay.
be settled, which is open, only those items will be taken.
You're taking you mean to say we need to take only open items.
Correct.
Okay, okay, got it, sir.
Yeah. On the other side, I can put invoice as a separate line item. Let's say the invoice value is 20. I will migrate invoice value as 20 here. Invoice value I'll put 20. For credit memo, I have 10. I'll put minus 10 for credit memo. And advances, I have 15. I'll put minus 15 for advances. When I do a total, I am again uploading 5 only. This is another way. What I will do, I will club all my invoices. I will tell this is the total invoice outstanding as on 30th June 2023. I can pass only a single JV to bring 20 into the customer account. On the other side, on the similar approach, I will bring the credit memo outstanding. I will also bring advances outstanding. But if you do like this, tomorrow, let's say after you went live with SAP, your customer is using SAP, okay, and he received an invoice payment. Let's say payment for invoice 1. Payment for invoice 1, which is 10 received. Assuming once you went live on SAP, your customer has paid 10 outstanding whatever is there on the invoice number 1. Now your client wants to pass this payment entry in SAP. When they go to SAP system, when they want to apply the payment, they must represent the respective invoice number in the SAP system, right? If you are uploading data like this, it is easy for you to identify this is the outstanding for invoice number 1. Invoice number 1 is here. I can easily knock off this invoice number 1 with the payment that I am receiving on SAP. If you migrate based on the line item, it is easy for you to track all the open transactions which were outstanding on your legacy system, and you can continue your day-to-day business process as it is in SAP system. This is one approach. The other approach, you can consolidate or you can club all the invoices and you can pass one entry for 20. Now you received 10 rupees payment or payment for 10, invoice number 1, but you do not have the detailed invoice breakup here. So what we did, we migrated the total invoice outstanding 20. Now I will not be able to record this 10 against the invoice. So what I need to do, I need to record this 10 either as partial payment or as a residual payment. If I if I record this 10 as partial payment or the residual payment, I will not be able to perform my reporting properly. When you say you will not be able to perform your reporting properly, on every customer there is something called outstanding report. For every customer you will have something called outstanding report. For every customer, you need to make sure you will be able to generate the outstanding report so that you can forecast your liquidity or you can forecast what will be your receivable, at what date you have to receive the amount. Accordingly, you will be chasing or you will be following up with your customer for the payment. If I migrate everything like this, I am now in a dilemma. What is the invoice breakup for this? What is the due date for this? So this approach, if you are following, which is not going to help your client, which is not going to help your business. So we need to make sure that how do they want to see the open transactions on SAP, whether they want to see the detailed breakup or they do not want to see the detailed breakup. If they find the cumulative amount or the final amount, they are fine with it. As a consultant, you need to check with it. It is always recommended. This approach is what we need to follow strictly. But sometimes we may be aware, we may not be aware. If we upload like this, everything will go for a toss. Because at that moment, when you're uploading the trial balance, your client is also focusing on the trial balance. Your client will not get time to get into each and every customer account to see whether all my balances are appearing as per my outstanding or not. because nobody will have that much time during your implementation and all. So they will be verifying all these processes later on. When they are verifying this later on, they may come up with different queries, different questions stating, I am not able to identify this balance belongs to which invoices. Can you please help me? How do I identify this? And if you have not communicated these points with your client, and if there is no clear agreement between you and client, this is how you are going to migrate the data. It will create a big confusion, which will lead to unnecessary problems. Right? So it is not only about uploading the data, we should also understand wherever possible on what basis we are uploading the data, how your client is going to find it when the data is represented or when the data is extracted from SAP system. Because when you talk about customer, you should also think about the various reports, the month-end processes that are executed against customer. Point number one, you will be executing outstanding report, wherein you want to identify how many invoices are due from customer and when I will have to make the payment or when I'll have to collect the payment. If there are any open advances, if there are any open credit memos, how I'm going to adjust them. Similarly, you are going to have something called aging report, which is very important. You will have aging report for the customer. You need to understand how this aging report is prepared for customer. Now in SAP, you would have developed an aging report for your customer, but if your migration did not take place properly, your aging report will go for a toss. Your aging report will not work fine because the migration of open customer transactions were not migrated in a proper way. So everything will have a connection with the reporting and the other activities that they are going to carry out on SAP. Wherever possible, we need to try and understand what exactly they will do with this. If we know how we are uploading the trial balance, that is not just sufficient, that is just part of it. After that, how I am going to make sure that my day-to-day customer or accounts receivable operations are carried out without having any problem. Whenever there is a problem, whenever your user or client feels, no, this is not the way we want it, we are finding difficulties here, they are going to reach out to you as a FICO consultant. Now, as a FICO consultant, you are responsible, you are answerable, and you are supposed to clarify all the questions, concerns that they raised. If you have a solution, propose a solution. If not, convince them how to manage with it. But net, you need to make sure you will be able to convince your client with the approach that you have adopted and how you need to proceed if it cannot be changed now. But you cannot say, I do not know, this is uploaded, nothing can be done now, you please manage with it. So these kind of things we are not supposed to tell, especially when you are in any project. Either try to understand what was the problem, provide a solution if there is any, if not, give an alternative solution or an alternative workaround to manage with it. For that, first we need to understand the business requirement, impact of this on your day-to-day business process. Because when nobody is reaching out to you, which means everything is working fine. When somebody is reaching out to you, there is a problem. As a consultant, we need to make sure you understand that problem and you propose a solution or give a workaround to meet that requirement or to close that requirement. Okay, in short, this is how for every customer you will have to do the breakup. The detailed breakup you will have to take. Make sure the breakup is agreeing with the trial balance number, and from that you are going to segregate open invoices, open credit memos, open advances. This is what you are going to do from the finance point of view. Now you will be having different other points from the logistics point of view. You will be having open sales orders, open deliveries, pending billings and all. How you are going to bring these points? I will be talking about these points when I explain you about integration related points. Majorly these points and all will be taken care by your SD consultant. But what exactly will happen there? How do we migrate those entries? We will talk during the integration discussion. How FIMM integrates, how FISD integrates, we will talk during these initial sessions. There I will explain you about those points. Okay, this is in short about customer. Whatever the customers you have, if you have 120 customer, You are going to receive the detailed breakup of each customer. For each customer, whatever is the outstanding based on the original invoice date, amount, payment terms, amount in local currency, amount in your foreign currency, all these points you will have to make sure you upload data in such a way that in SAP tomorrow they will not face any problem. So you need to study, you need to understand till that level before you upload any data into SAP system. Okay, this is how you are going to migrate your customer account. Any question on this?
Ajay, I
Hello,
am
sir.
Loknath here.
Yes, Loknath, go ahead.
Like I am in the legacy system from last 3 years, and now we are migrating only the outstanding and the opening balances to arrive to match the trial balance. But what about the cleared items from last 3 years? For some purpose, if I need to generate the report for those 3 years, how do I generate it?
Those things you will be having the backup of your legacy system. From there you are going to generate.
So do I generate it from the SAP system or from the legacy system?
Legacy system.
Okay.
Because we will not be migrating cleared items into the SAP system. Cleared items which is not outstanding, those are already settled. They are already completely settled in your legacy system. From the legacy system, your client will take the dumps. And whatever they wanted to verify, they will verify from the legacy system dump.
Okay. Thank you, Ajay.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm actually confused with the main ledger and sub ledger. Can you give an example and explain, sir?
Okay. When you talk about main ledger and sub ledger, let me write here. GL alone is main ledger. Your customer, vendor, fixed asset is the sub ledger. Now currently whatever we are talking about is accounts receivable. Accounts receivable is related to customer. Now if you talk about modules in SAP FI, so here you call GL, AP, AR, AA. GL is nothing but GL module, AP is nothing but accounts payable module, AR is your accounts receivable module, AA is your asset accounting module. In this, if you split again, GL, AP, AR, AA. GL is your main ledger, AP is your subledger, AR is your subledger, asset accounting is a subledger. Because in GL you have everything. GL, this includes everything. You call it as a GL when you include everything. Now you call it as accounts payable. This is only related to customers. This is only related to customers. This is only related to vendors. This is only related to fixed assets. Okay. Now why you call this as a subledger? Why you call it as main ledger? You have something called financial statements. You have something called financial statements. Whenever you talk about financial statements, you have TB, you have P&L, you have balance sheet. You call a financial statement only when you are preparing trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. This TB, P&L, balance sheet is always extracted from your GL. You are going to prepare a trial balance, P&L, balance sheet from the GL. GL is always main ledger. Okay, you are calling it as GL, where you are telling GL includes everything. When you say GL includes everything, GL is including subledger. Your accounts payable is part of your GL by way of reconciliation account, right? So subledger
Sir,
is
sir, sorry to disturb, sir. In SAP perspective, we are understanding GL includes everything, right? I just want to know what exactly GL, sir, because AP, we know that it's a procurement required thing, right? We're purchasing something. Yeah, it's something coming to us, accounts received. We are sending in goods to customer. We are getting something. We're getting money from them. What is exactly GL, sir? Um,
okay. I'll write down.
yeah, thanks.
Okay, subledger is connected to main ledger using reconciliation account in SAP. So you are going to connect subledger to main ledger using reconciliation account in SAP. When you say this statement, you'll have to look at the subledger accounts AP, AR, AA. These three are subledger accounts. How these three are becoming subledger accounts and how SAP will understand this is a subledger account, it is going to understand based on a setting called reconciliation account. Now this reconciliation account is a GL account which is tagged to a subledger account. This I will show practically when we are on the SAP screens. Currently I am not showing SAP screen. On SAP screen, when you create any GL account master, you will find a setting called reconciliation account type. When you tick something related to customer, this GL account will become subledger account. This GL account will become subledger account managed to track the transactions related to customers, vendors or fixed asset. Okay, next one, let me write the account types, or I'll write somewhere down. First one I will write GL account. Second one I will write customer account. Third one I will write vendor account. Fourth one I will write fixed asset account. Now we will not understand what is GL first, because as we mentioned, GL includes everything. It is not possible for us to tell this is related to GL because it relates to everything. So it is very difficult to point out this kind of accounts are related to GL. Instead, we will go by a reverse approach. Whatever is not related to GL or whatever is not part of GL, remaining that everything else will be a GL account. When I talk about a customer, I will be telling a particular thing as a customer only when I see name of a person or organization. Am I correct? I call something as a customer when I find name of a person or name of an organization. Similarly, I call it as a vendor on the same approach. Whenever I see name of a person or name of an organization, I can come to a conclusion. This can be a customer account or this can be a vendor account. Similarly, when you talk about fixed asset, this is name from land, building, plant, furniture, vehicles, etc. Now, based on this, is it easy to identify what is customer, what is vendor, what is fixed asset? Correct? Huh? Can we identify what is customer, what is vendor, what is fixed asset?
Yes, sir.
Or it is difficult?
Yes.
This is
We
straightforward,
can.
right? Whatever is not a customer, whatever is not a vendor, whatever is not a fixed asset, all those things are your GL accounts. I call it as, let's say, Mr. ABC, or I'll say Reliance Digital, and I'll say laptop, I'll say mobile phone. Can I call Mr. ABC as a GL account?
No.
No. This can be either a customer or a vendor, correct? Because it's a name of a person. Name of a person can be used either for a customer or for a vendor. Similarly, Reliance Digital, can I call it as a GL account?
No.
Because this is also name of an organization. This can be either a customer or a vendor. Third one, laptop. I cannot call this also a GL account because this is name of a fixed asset. I will call it as asset. Mobile phone also I cannot call it as a GL account because this is also a fixed asset. I'll tell this is also an asset. Now if I write something called rent, if I call something as cash or capital interest, is rent customer vendor fixed asset?
No.
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 That is
I'll
GL.
put it as GL. Is cash customer vendor fixed asset?
No.
No. I'll put GL account. Is capital customer vendor fixed asset?
No.
No. I'll put it as GL account. Similarly, for interest, this is also not a customer, not a vendor, not a fixed asset. I'll put it as GL account. So GL account, when you talk about, GL account includes everything. Here, whatever you're talking about, customer, vendor, fixed asset, these are subledger accounts. These are subledger accounts because in your AP, you are tracking everything related to vendor. Everything related to vendor, you are tracking in AP. Everything related to customer, you are tracking in vendor. I'll put this one. Customer is AR. Fixed asset, whatever you are tracking, you are using AA. Correct? Now these three are automatically included in your main ledger GL via reconciliation account setting. Whenever you create accounts payable, whenever you create accounts receivable, whenever you create asset accounting related GL account, you are going to tag a reconciliation account type in the GL master. One more thing that you need to understand, GL is identified by S in SAP. Customer is identified by
E.
D in SAP. Similarly, vendor is identified by K in SAP. Fixed asset is identified by A in SAP. These are nothing but your account types in SAP. These are nothing but account types in SAP. First, let us understand only these four. Later on, we will understand the remaining ones. Okay. Now, based on this, is this easy to identify what is GL account, what is sub GL account or sub ledger account? When we actually talk about the postings, we will be able to understand, because at that time we will be working on the business transactions, we will be working on accounting entries, transactions. There you will have clear understanding. But for now, to understand in a simple terminology without looking at SAP, this is what we need to remember. Clear? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I understood. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this is related to your customer, whatever we were talking about, the trial balance. Similarly, anything related to subledger, you will have the similar breakup. Let's say this is related to trial balance customer. Similarly, if you have trial balance for vendor, what will happen? You are going to take the same number as it is. Let me take this down. I'll put this here. So here I am going to write the account names as AP, accounts payable. I'll say accounts payable for domestic vendors or local vendors. Similarly, I will put accounts payable foreign vendors or imports. Similarly, accounts payable, I may say one-time vendors, accounts payable from employees, accounts payable to intercompanies, accounts payable to intra-companies. Here also same logic. Any subledger, you are going to have the same logic. You will have the consolidated value represented in the trial balance. For domestic vendors, if I take the same thing, I may have, let's say, 50 vendors here. I may have 50 vendors here. Similarly, imports, let's say I have 20 vendors. One time I'll say one vendor I have. Employees, I would say 400 employee vendors. Intercompany, I would say 4 vendors. Intra-company, I'll say 10 vendors. This is your intra-companies. Now, sum of this is 1000 again, and you will need to get the breakup of the 50 vendors. Out of 50 vendors, how this 200 is distributed, or this 200 is part of what vendors. If I'm talking about 50 vendors, I need to list out each and every vendor. From each and every vendor, what is the outstanding? For example, if you take Reliance Digital vendor account. From this Reliance Digital vendor account, let's say same thing. You will have invoice number 1, invoice number 2, invoice number 3. Let's say credit memo number 1, credit memo number 2, advance payment 1, and advance payment number 2. Okay, now this Reliance is not a single vendor which is showing the outstanding of 200. This 200 is related to 50 vendors. Out of 50, Reliance is just one vendor. So Reliance outstanding will not match with 200. Reliance outstanding may be, let's say, invoice 1 for 3, invoice 2 for 1, this is for 4, this is for credit memo, this is vendor. For vendor, your invoice will be negative. You need to put negative number. This is also a negative number. Make sure whenever you write any number, right from the beginning, you're writing the numbers in the positive negative sign according to the nature of account. If you only put the number, you will have to undergo a lot of confusions when you are looking at the reports, especially when you're working on projects. When you're working real time, if you are not focusing on the number, which means the positive number, negative number, in short, debit balance, credit balance, we will end up getting a lot of basic confusions, wherein it is very difficult to handle your report or understand the requirement or to talk with the users. So vendor invoice always shows a negative balance because vendor is payable. Credit memo, I'll say 1 and 3 here. Advance payment 10 and 2 here. If I do a total, I am getting vendor account balance of 8. This is a positive number, but whereas my trial balance is going to show a negative number. My trial balance of vendor is always a negative number because vendor is always payable, it's a liability. This will be a negative number. This will also be a credit number. This will also be a credit number. Overall, this is 1000 negative balance. For this, if you see, you are getting 200 credit balance, but when you look at a particular vendor, you are getting 8 debit balance. You are getting 8 debit balance. Likewise, you will get the breakup of all the 50 vendors. When you take the total outstanding of each vendor, Reliance is 8. Why 8? These are the transaction breakup. Likewise, for all the 50 vendors, you will receive the breakup. If you do a total for all the 50 vendors, you will have to get exactly this negative 200. If you get exactly negative 200, then whatever the breakup that you got for the trial balance is correct. If it is not matching, sometimes it will not match. If it is not matching, you will have to send an email to your client stating the values are not matching. Please confirm. They will rework and then they will do the necessary adjustments, corrections. They will send it to you, the revised trial balance or the revised accounts payable breakup. Unless and until you are able to understand the complete trial balance, including the breakup, you will not start the data migration activity or you will not upload the transactions. Okay, this is related to your vendor. Clear for customer and vendor? Any questions?
Sir, is it not called a debit memo?
In SAP, we call both as credit memo only.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just that the opposite sign. If your invoice is credit balance, the credit memo will represent a debit balance.
Okay.
From SAP point of view, both the things for customer and for the vendor, you call it as credit memo. From the core accounting point of view, you call it as invoice debit memo, invoice credit memo. But from the SAP point of view, we call both the things as credit memo only. Okay, any questions on this customer breakup, vendor breakup?
Hi, sir.
Yes.
So, like you mentioned that we will be considering only the open items. So, for example, for invoice 1, we have received a partial payment, or in case of accounts payable, we have made a partial payment, which is a concept in SAP, and the invoice document is not cleared in that case. So,
Correct.
what open item we will consider in that case? The balance amount or full amount?
There you are going to have another thing called open account payment or on account payment. Those partial payments, payments which are unallocated, payments which are unadjusted are called as open account payment or on account payment. When you're recording this on account payment or open account payment, you will have to represent the invoice number against which this is received. Somewhere in the assignment field or reference field, you will mention this.
Okay.
Okay.
And if the legacy system is not like SAP and there is no concept of partial payment, then there is no issue. We will take only the balance amount in that case.
Correct. Whatever the way they want to see it in SAP, in the similar way, they will prepare the open item balances and they will share with us. We will be explaining to the client that this is how your customer account balances will reflect in SAP, because there may be certain functionalities which are available in SAP which may not be available in their legacy system. Now, considering the SAP, this is how you can segregate your transactions. In the existing system, they may not be having the detailed breakup of all the transactions. But when you have done your UAT sessions, when you have conducted the training sessions, you would have made them understand that this is how your customer statements look like. This is how you can pass the customer transactions. This is how the customer balances will represent. Accordingly, they will adjust the customer transaction breakup and they will provide you the data. This is how we want to see the data in SAP. Okay, they will split the existing transaction according to the way it is to be appeared on the SAP.
Okay.
Okay.
Ajay, for this 485 vendors, hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for this 485 vendors, if there are 2000 open invoices, so how do we upload, like what will be the entry, like credit will be the vendor and debit will be the takeover account?
Correct.
So like if it is 2000 lines, then it will be 4000 lines we are going to upload it.
You're right. Not 4000 lines, 2000 lines plus a single offsetting account, 2001.
Okay. Okay, for all the lines, one offsetting.
One offsetting account.
Okay.
At vendor account level, not the total. It depends. Like
Okay.
if the data is so accurate, you can put a single account, single offsetting. Otherwise, you can
Okay.
go single offsetting based on each vendor account.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
If you put single offsetting for all the 2000 records, sometimes
Mhm.
what will happen once the data is uploaded, your customer or your client may come back and tell that, sorry, we have given certain transactions of a vendor incorrectly. Please adjust these transactions like this. Now, if you put a single offsetting for all the entries, it is not possible for us to correct it, right?
Okay.
Because if you
Correct.
cancel it, everything will get cancelled.
Yeah.
Now, these kind of adjustments will come based on a particular vendor account. So it is always recommended you put a separate offsetting for each vendor account. Tomorrow, if your client wants to look at why this entry is posted, when he displays the
Mhm.
document, he is supposed to see only that particular vendor transactions. If you put this everything into a single offsetting, he will end up
Mhm.
seeing 2000 records in single JV.
Okay.
Okay. So those entries we will cover in the upcoming sessions. How exactly we will write the accounting entries. I will draft one trial balance. Based on that, I will
Sure.
split and I'll post all the accounting entries. And these accounting entries, whatever we draft, the same accounting
Mhm.
entry in whatever the company name we list, before I make you create your configuration, I will load these balances in SAP. I will load these balances in SAP by configuring a company code. Whatever we are
Sure.
writing on the Excel sheet, everything as it is we will load in the upcoming sessions. So that I will again recap everything whatever we are discussing. You will be able to understand clearly that whatever we are writing on the Excel sheet, everything as it is with the same number you will see on SAP.
Okay, Ajay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now when we have written open account payments in the trial balance, that means that all the invoices are now grossed up.
Right. So that they may be representing in any way in their legacy system. They may be
Correct.
preparing the report. Let's say whenever they prepare the financial statement like TB P&L balance sheet, it is supposed to have lot of manual adjustments. Correct?
Correct.
They will adjust lot of things manually because from system, whatever you are using, it is not possible for us to derive or generate the report the way you want to submit to the management, the way you want to submit to the auditors. Am I correct?
Yes.
So what we will do, we will extract the dump, and based on that dump, you are going to classify. You are going to adjust certain amount here. You will put the amount into different head and you will adjust here. But end of the day, when you look at the account balance, it will tally. But the representation that you are doing for the reporting is a slightly manually intervened. Correct?
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Yeah. But at the end, the account balance will not get affected. The way you are representing on the report is only a slight modifications, slight tweaking you will do it.
Okay, sir, just wanted to make sure I understand this. So there you're saying that there is a possibility that the detailed breakdown amounts may not match with the consolidated amount in
Yes.
some cases. That's
Yes.
something that's happening in real time.
Correct. Because normally what will happen, you will first receive the trial balance alone. Okay, when you receive the trial balance, your trial balance will show only like this. For your accounts payable, this is what you will show in the trial balance. But your accounts payable is related to vendors. This domestic vendor, whatever you are showing as 200 outstanding, may be related to 50 vendors. There may be total more than 50 vendors, but the 200 value is coming from 50 vendor transactions. Your client will have to provide you the detailed breakup of each of these 50 vendors. At each vendor, how many open transactions are there? And as a consultant, you need to make sure you will check this accounts payable. Sorry. You will check this accounts payable domestic GL balance from the trial balance, and you will also open the accounts payable domestic detailed Excel sheet. He will give you the accounts payable breakup. One sheet he will put AP domestic, another sheet he will put AP foreign or AP import, another sheet AP one time vendor. From the AP domestic sheet, he will provide you the vendor number followed by the transaction number, transaction date, invoice number, whatever the data that is to be captured on SAP. You have to do the total of each vendor account. For that, all the 50 vendors, whatever the total that you are able to get, that must match with 200 here. If it is matching, you are good to go. If not, you will have to send an email to your client stating the breakup of your accounts payable domestic is not matching with the TB. They will do a rework. They will send you another revised file stating please find the updated file. Because these kind of mismatches, these kind of reworks are quite common in every project. It is very rare that in one go you will get everything which is exactly matching.
So if that's the case, is it safe to say that maybe during our interview we can bring out this point, like saying that this is one of the problems we face while working in one of our implementation project, and this is the solution that we get by solving the issues? Is it like this is something that we can bring, like use in during interviews?
Yes, you must talk about this legacy upload or cutover activity in your interview, because whoever attends interview, everybody will tell that we were part of at least one implementation project. If you do not mention that you were not part of any implementation project, it is very less possibility that your profile gets shortlisted. And even if your profile gets shortlisted, because you are telling that you were part of an implementation, but whatever you are talking is only the configuration, we need to first remove that mindset that as a consultant we work or we do only config. Config is just one part of your activity of your consulting. This one, apart from configuration, what else you do is what we need to focus. Now this is more important than your configuration, because everybody will tell that I did configuration during the realization phase. I configured AP, I configured GL, whatsoever. But you do not focus more on the configurations. Instead, you focus that you uploaded all the legacy balances into SAP. They might ask you, how did you upload all the legacy balances? All the points that we are talking now, if you explain, that is more than enough. How did you upload? How did you receive the legacy balances? On what was the cutoff date? How did you analyze the trial balance? How did you upload? All these points, when you are able to explain, you sound practical. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ajay, what will happen to the transactions between the cutover date and catchover date?
So you are going to upload data on cutover date only, which is 30th June 2023. From 1st July until your go live date, you call it as catchover date. For the catchover date, your client will be posting the entries on the legacy system only majoritarily, but all the transactions, whatever they are posting on the legacy system during the catchover period, which means go live month, first until the go live date, they will provide you the data in the Excel sheet. You are going to provide them the transaction data upload files, like all the cash transactions you will provide a template. For all the bank transactions, another template. For all the customer, another template. For all the vendor, for all the asset. Whatever they are
No,
doing,
for the
for the catch over period, they will record the entries in the Excel sheet that again we need to upload. It's a separate
okay, no,
activity that has to be completed before the first month close.
okay. The
Sir,
reconciliation will happen as an like a cutover date. The balances will match
Correct.
the transactions, and but how do we match uh, the transactions in between uh, the cutover date and catch over date? Like, do we do the
That is
reconciliation again for those
that
transactions
is
as well?
part of your first month close activity.
Okay.
Okay, the catch over activities will have to be completed before you close first month end. Let's say you are going live on any date on July. Let's say 10th July, 15th July, 25th July, 28th July. You need to make sure that these catch over entries of July will be uploaded, will be validated by the user before you close July month, because you have time for it, right?
Sure, sure. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
sir, we uploaded all data in quality server or production server, sir?
First, we will upload in the quality server. Once
Mhm.
you upload in the quality server, you will download from the quality server. You will make sure that whatever the data that you have uploaded is working fine. Sometimes you will receive errors when you upload. This is missing, that is missing. You will upload the file first. You will make sure that the data is uploaded properly, and you will share this data with the client just for the rough verification. When he says that yes, everything seems to be fine, that is when you are going to upload in production. Because when you upload in production, it is likely to be 100% accurate. There should not be any error when you upload the legacy data in production. If there is any error, the error must be due to the incorrect data provided by the client or the corrections suggested by the client, but not because of the system error, not because of I duplicated, I uploaded the file 2 times, not a consulting error. The error must be related to the client mistake, like client gave the duplicate information or client gave the wrong information, they wanted to rectify the data after uploading. For these kind of errors it is acceptable, but not from our errors.
Okay, sir.
So we
Okay,
are yet to discuss this chronologically, no? We haven't completed this part.
which one?
Sir, after the cutover date, what all activities are there
That
till the
I'll
catch
explain.
over date?
Yeah,
Yes.
that we will explain. That we will be talking about this for the next 3-4 days until we understand each and every activity as part of your cutover, and until we understand the trial balance we will be talking about this one point a day. Because at the end of your project, if this activity is not completed, no SAP project will be going live. This is the key element of your any project that you talk about, implementation. Without data migration, no project is going to go live, and whatever the config you do is of no use if you are unable to answer, if you are unable to talk about these points.
Okay.
So why are we uploading an individual Excel sheet during the catch-over period? Is it because it's not yet the month end and we cannot pull out the financial report from them?
No, it's not because of that. Let's say my go live, I would say, is I would say 15th July 2023. Clear? Now you have something called month end in every organization. Everybody must have heard I am busy with month end, month closure, quarterly closure, yearly closure. Correct? Huh? When you're talking about month end is logic based. Logic or policy or process based. Certain companies will tell that we will close month on, let's say, third working day. Certain companies will say third calendar day. Likewise, they may say fifth working day, fifth calendar day, or seventh working day, seventh calendar day. Is this point correct?
Yes.
Which means, according to this statement, my June 2023 financials are ready only after 3rd July, starting from. Agree with me, everyone?
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
I'll
yes,
be
Ajay.
able to
Yes,
close my June month only after 3rd, based on the company policy, based on the company process, whatever the logic that they have. 3rd working day, 5th working day, 7th working day, calendar day, which means on the same month at the last working day, no company will close the financials. So they will take some time. Now during this time, what they will do, they will make sure that all the transactions related to that particular month are accounted. If you are not able to account a particular transaction in the same month, you have something called accruals deferrals. You need to show that as outstanding or prepaid. In short, you need to accrue it or you need to defer it. These points you will have to do. This is an ongoing process for every month in every organization. No company, no organization is an exception to this. When it comes to the regular month end, this is the process. When it comes to migration, when we talk about migration, you are completely changing your system from one system to the other system. Automatically, this date is going to take a little longer, correct? Obviously, this date cannot be third. It will go a little longer to make sure that any corrections, any issues, any adjustments that you had on your legacy system, you may be rectifying it, you may be remapping it, and you will get the approvals from the management. That is when you are going to tell that our TB is ready for migrating into SAP. They will close the financials for their book, but for migrating into SAP, they might take a little more time considering the proper mappings and all. And during this period, whatever the transactions that are happening in your go live month, everything they will be recording majoritarily in the legacy system only. Everything they will be recording in legacy system only. Parallelly, on the legacy system, they will pull out the reports on a daily basis. Today, these are the transactions. They will provide you the daily data or weekly data depending on the volume, and you need to upload these data before the month end or on a daily basis. But we need to make sure by the end of that month, all the catch over data, which is your go live first day till go live date, is uploaded in SAP. Clear?
yeah. Yes, Ajay, it is clear.
Yeah.
So
Any other
like the
questions?
subledger's month-end close happens earlier and GL close happens later, right? Like it is not like all
Correct,
the
correct.
subledgers and major. Okay.
Right, because you, before you close the main ledger, you must close the sub ledger. You need to get the confirmation from payable team, receivable team, fixed asset team stating that our reconciliations are completed, we booked everything. Only then you are going to perform your month end activities. Only after that you will generate your TB P&L balance sheet. Okay.
Sir, is it possible to copy transactional data from one server to another, like from quality to production?
No, that is not possible. We don't do it. That is not recommended also. Even if there is any workaround for it, that is not recommended. Any master data, any transaction data is client independent. Because in your quality system, what we will do, you will be creating different customers, different masters for the testing purpose. Correct?
Yes, yes, correct.
And similarly in the quality, you will be posting different transactions for the testing purpose. Now, if you are moving it, all the testing related information will also get moved. Normally, we will not be creating this data manually. We will be creating through uploaded templates. Whatever the data that you have, you are going to fill up all the information on the template. In fact, we will not fill it up. We will give that uploaded template to the client. We will provide a sample record. We will explain them how to fill the template. According to your instructions, your client will fill up the template. He will provide you the template. Whatever the template that you received from your client, make sure you validate it. All the data records are properly updated. Then you upload it straight away. That also not directly in production. First you upload the template in test system, either in development or in quality or in pre-production system. Download the data, make sure everything is fine. Only once you feel everything is correct, it is validated by the client, that is where you upload the same file in the production system.
Okay.
Clear?
So, sir, what is the process to upload and download the data from template?
If you are using ECC versions, we normally used to use LSMW templates. You create a recording and then you will prepare an upload file. You will share it with the user. Now from S4HANA onwards, you will have all this majority of the master record, transaction records are predefined templates by SAP. You just need to download the template, fill one sample record, share the template as it is to the customer without any modification. He will send as it is to you. You will just validate without any modification in the template, which means no addition of columns, no deletion of columns, no the swapping of the columns. I'll move A to B, B to A, nothing to be done. Whatever is there as it is, upload the data, whatever is applicable, and then load it into SAP.
Okay, so we are going to see this no, in upcoming
Yeah, I'll show all this.
Okay.
I'll show LSMW upload. I will show you LTMC upload. I will also show you migrate your data upload, which means from ECC we will upload, from 1909 we will upload with LTMC, from 2021 or 2022 I will show you with migrate your data, because from 2020 onwards LTMC is removed. Removed in the sense that is not accessible. You will have to use something called Fury application, migrate your data. These three things we will see before we start our actual config, before you start your actual config.
Okay.
Okay, because config is something which is straightforward, that anybody can learn for free of cost, which we do not have to waste or which we do not have to spend more time on it. Instead, we try to understand different points at the beginning. Later on, when you look at the configuration, you will have high level understanding about most of the points. Whatever we are discussing now are going to help you understand different points that we are going to talk in the upcoming sessions.
Hello.
Yes.
So, are you able to hear Ajay?
Yes, Kurva, tell me.
I'm trying. So, okay. There is a whatever you mentioned, domestic, export, those are all sub-ledgers, right?
Yes.
And we can for that we can maintain reconciliation account, correct, right?
Yes.
And these reconciliation account we should maintain in the master data level, right, sir?
Correct.
So there is a six GLs are there. So 6 plus and 6 main GLs also will coming, and how it will.
No. Each of this, whatever you find on the trial balance, is a GL account. Okay, AP domestic is a GL account. AP domestic GL account may be tagged to 50 vendors.
It's like reconciliation accounts is nothing but the main GL accounts, isn't it? Ajay?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, reconciliation account is nothing but your subledger GL account.
So these 6 GLs are reconciliation accounts, right, sir?
Reconciliation accounts, correct.
So these one domestic GL we can use 50 vendors. You mentioned 50 vendors, right?
Correct.
So for domestic level, how many main ledger we are creating?
This itself is main ledger. Whatever you find on the trial balance, this is your main ledger. This main ledger is a reconciliation account. Normally, when you talk about a GL account, let's say, what did I mention GL?
But you are saying the reconciliation account sub-ledger again.
You call it as a GL account. Within the GL account, you will have open item account, non-open item account, expense account, income account, reconciliation account. This reconciliation account is nothing but your sub-ledger account. Okay, because as we discussed, GL includes everything. Because when we talk
So
about
main and sub.
reconciliation, correct. So wherever
And
you have this reconciliation account, this is called a sub-ledger account. Apart from this, everything is a main ledger account.
So what I understood, like for example, I have created one main GL, so one reconciliation account GL. Reconciliation GL is domestic AP. Okay, that domestic AP I am assigned in the master level of one vendor. That is
Correct,
correct, sir?
correct.
Okay, okay, that is my doubt.
Yeah. So when we
And
create the master
one more
record,
thing. Mhm.
when we create the master record, that is where all these doubts will get clarified. I'll show you
Okay.
the reconciliation account, vendor account from the GL point of view, from the vendor point of view, from the backend table point of view. How one GL account will display 50 vendor accounts, how one vendor account will display the GL account. All these points I'll show you practically on the system.
And one more thing, in open item level, you were suggested two options, right? One is each invoice level, open item level, and we can merge also, right, sir?
Correct.
And when you take each open item level, so we are putting vendor account number and customer account number, right, sir?
Correct.
So I will, those 10 line item level, I will put same account number. System will not give the duplicate.
No, it will not give the duplicate because you are going to pass all these things as a separate balances or separate JV, separate accounting entry. So it will
Okay, document
pop up
IDs, right?
separate document, yes. Because if you
Okay.
put everything under same document, tomorrow when you clear one document, you will not see the other document. So that is where we are talking about separate entry.
But which is the most useful approach in the standard real time, sir?
Separate. If you have 10 entries, you will be posting 10 entries, which means if you
Because
have
of
10 invoices in the legacy system, you are going to create 10 invoices in the SAP system also. We will not club 10 invoices into one. That we will see here. You have different classification here: open item, non-open item, expense, income.
yeah,
So here I will
if
explain something
if
called
suppose company having 10,000 items, open items in the one vendor level, is it possible to create separate level?
yes. If it is 10,000, we must create 10,000 open items. No other shortcut for it. Because tomorrow, for customer, for vendor, there is something called aging report. You need to analyze what invoice is at what aging. Correct?
Correct.
If you are clubbing these invoices, certain reporting is not possible. If you are unable to produce the aging report, your auditor will put a question to you.
Correct.
So considering all these points, we have to go based on the separate open item only. For uploading purpose, we can upload in any way. If our intention is to bring the data into SAP, we have so many shortcuts. But we need
Yeah.
to see what is the business process, whether it is relevant, valid or not. Accordingly, we will be going ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Sir,
So,
after uploading the trial balance and cutover date and after that go live, then what is the next process? Whether we have to
We
do
will,
configuration or what happens next?
this, whatever we are talking now is after all your configurations. The final stage is what I'm explaining you at the beginning, so that you will understand what is the importance of doing a configuration. If you do something wrong in the configuration, what will happen? I'm showing you at the beginning without talking about config. This is the last stage of your implementation.
That means after configuration, we will be doing uploading the trial balance, then cutover date, then catchover date, then go live date, right?
No, 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 not that way. So here you see the data flow that we have listed at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
When your project has started, you will take the business requirement.
Okay.
Okay, based on the business requirement, you will do the configuration. Based on the configuration, you will create the master data. After creating the master data, you are going to receive the trial balance. From the trial balance, you are going to split the transactions and you will upload the transaction data. After uploading the transaction data, you will be extracting the reports like trial balance, customer balances, bank balances and all.
Okay.
These sequences and all we will be writing in detail in the upcoming sessions. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
so
Sir,
like you
after
mentioned
going live,
that generally we do not copy the transactional and master data from one server to another server. But sir, many times we find the same master data of vendor and customers in development server also as we find in production server. So how is it possible?
This is because whatever the data that you have in the production system, we do something called client copy. Whatever the data that is there in production, we will copy production data into quality system, the same data into development system to make sure whenever you, let's say you are using SAP from last 2 years. In development, your master data may not be consistent. GL account, customer, vendor account, you will be directly creating in production, correct?
Correct.
Now your client says that in executing one of the scenarios, they are facing some problem. Now to resolve that problem, first you need to understand why the issue is coming. Agree?
Yes.
Now sometimes what will happen, your client will tell, I am trying to create one vendor invoice, I am trying to clearing it, it is not allowing, it is giving some error. Okay, you understood, you are creating one invoice, okay, you are making a payment, you are facing a problem. You are going to replicate the same thing in quality system. You will be surprised that you are able to post clear without any problem. You don't find any problem from your side, but in the production system, your client is facing a problem. Now you cannot go to the production and then verify why the error is happening, because those things are not allowed in production system. Any problem you're facing in production, make sure you replicate the data in quality, because data moved from quality to production. Agree?
Yes.
If there is a problem in production, the same thing should create a problem in quality also. Sometimes due to mismatch of your master data inconsistency, sometimes there may be certain configurations that you will do in development, you move to quality, but you will not move it to production. There are different instances due to which there are inconsistencies between production and development quality. So to avoid these things, to make sure your testing, your further developments are all accurate, once in every 3 months or once in every 6 months, in every project for every organization, we copy production data into quality and development. That is where you see the exact, the transaction, all the customers, everything, whatever is there on the production will be copied to quality and development. Okay, there is something called client copy.
Okay.
Clear?
Ajay, I've got two questions. The first one, the reconciliation accounts, are these the same as control accounts,
Yes,
or
correct.
control accounts are different from reconciliation
Same
accounts?
same account. Same reconciliation
Same
account
account.
is
Okay.
also called as control account in some organizations. Either you call it as control account or a reconciliation account. It is one and the same.
Okay. Then the second question, when you do let's say you want to do a reversal of an invoice that has been posted, where do you do the reversal? Do you do the reversal from the reconciliation account or um, from the what do you call this, the from the customer account itself? So where
Okay.
do you do the reversal from?
When we talk about
Yeah.
invoice, we have different type of invoices. Let's say, so when you go through the Excel sheet, please don't get confused. I think I've written left and right here. When you talk about invoices, I'll say point number 1, customer invoice from FI side. Point number 2, I will say customer invoice from SD side. Point number 3, vendor invoice from FI side. Point number 4, vendor invoice from MM side. Point number 5, asset invoice from both MM and SD side. Normally we don't have SD side invoice for customer, it will be MM only. Now if this is your customer, this one, this is reversed from FI side based on document number. Clear? Second one is reversed from SD side based on document number. Clear? Third one is the same. Fourth one is the same. This one is reversed from asset side based on asset number. Okay. But for reversing anything, you need the document number. So it is from your document number, not from the customer number. Because when you create any invoice, you are going to get the document number, in short, the invoice number. To reverse it, you need to represent that invoice number. If it is generated from the FI side, you will have to reverse it from the FI side. If it is generated from the SD side, you need to reverse it from SD side. Because if it is from FI side, the source is FI. If it is from SD side, source is not FI. You have something called original document and a derived document. For SD side, your accounting is a derived document. SD document is the original document. This I will show when I post the accounting entry. Clear?
Yes. Thanks, Ajay.
Yeah.
Sir, after going go live, how many days do we provide support for the client?
Once your project has gone live,
Yes.
after go live you have something called hypercare support. Okay, you call it as hypercare support. This is typically 1 to 3 months. We call it as 1 to 3 months because hypercare support is either first month close or first quarter close. Either of this must be provided by the implementation team. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright then, let me stop the recording. We'll continue the remaining points in the tomorrow's session. If you have any questions, I'll answer your questions in the tomorrow's session. Okay. Alright then, let me stop this recording.